Welcome to Biography with Plutarch, where we delve into the lives of remarkable individuals to uncover the intricacies of their character and the experiences that shaped them. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey through the life of John Lennon, a name synonymous with music, activism, and cultural iconography. John Winston Lennon was born on October 9, 1940, in Liverpool, England, during the tumultuous era of World War II. The city, battered by German air raids, was a hub of resilience and community, where neighbors became like family and music played a significant role in boosting morale. The sound of sirens, the smell of smoke, and the sight of bombed-out buildings were all too familiar to young John, who grew up in a world where uncertainty and chaos were ever present. Yet, amidst this backdrop of war and destruction, John's mother, Julia Stanley, a free-spirited and lively woman, would often take him to the local cinema where he'd watch classic films and develop a love for storytelling. The silver screen became a temporary escape from the harsh realities of war, and John's imagination was ignited by the likes of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. His father, Alfred Lennon, a merchant seaman, was absent for much of John's early life, which would later influence his perceptions of family and relationships. The absence of a paternal figure would leave an indelible mark on John's psyche, shaping his views on love, loyalty, and identity. As he navigated the complexities of childhood, John would often find himself wondering about his father's whereabouts, imagining the exotic ports and far-flung lands that Alfred might be visiting. This sense of disconnection would later manifest in John's music as he sought to reconcile the fragmented pieces of his own family history. As a young boy, John grew up in a small house on Newcastle Road, surrounded by the sounds of Liverpool, the docks, the ships, and the vibrant music scene. The streets were alive with the sound of laughter, arguments, and music drifting from the windows of nearby homes. His mother's family, the Stanleys, were known for their strong personalities and artistic inclinations, which would later manifest in John's own creative pursuits. Julia's sister, Mimi, who would become a significant figure in John's life, was a strict but loving presence, providing stability and encouragement as he navigated his childhood. Mimi's no-nonsense approach to life would often clash with Julia's more carefree nature, creating a dynamic that would shape John's own approach to relationships and creative expression. The post-war Liverpool of John's youth was a city of contrasts. Bombed-out buildings stood alongside vibrant street markets, and the sound of traditional folk music mingled with the emerging rhythms of rock and roll. This eclectic atmosphere would later influence John's unique blend of musical styles, from skiffle to psychedelia. As a child, he was fascinated by the stories of his mother and aunt, who regaled him with tales of their own childhood adventures and the struggles of wartime Liverpool. These oral histories would become a rich source of inspiration for John as he wove together fragments of family lore, mythology, and personal experience to create his own unique narrative. John's early education took place at Dovedale Primary School, where he excelled in art and music but struggled with discipline and authority. His rebellious streak, which would become a hallmark of his later years, was already beginning to emerge. The influence of his mother, who encouraged his creativity and independence, can be seen in John's early drawings and writings, which showcased a vivid imagination and a keen sense of observation. His teachers, while often frustrated by his antics, recognized the spark of talent that lay within him and nurtured his creative pursuits whenever possible. As John entered his preteen years, he became increasingly fascinated with music, particularly the skiffle movement, which was sweeping through Liverpool. He spent hours listening to records by Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, and Chuck Berry, teaching himself to play the guitar and forming his first band, the Quarrymen, with friends from school. This early foray into music marked the beginning of a lifelong passion that would take him from the Cavern Club in Liverpool to the stages of the world. The sense of camaraderie and shared purpose that came with making music would become a defining aspect of John's life, as he sought to connect with others through the universal language of song. The summer of 1957 proved pivotal in John's life as he met Paul McCartney at a church fete where the Quarrymen were performing. This chance encounter would lead to one of the most iconic and enduring songwriting partnerships in history. The city's unique blend of grit, humor, and creativity would forever shape his perspective as he navigated the complexities of family, friendship, and his own emerging identity. As the vibrant tapestry of the 1960s unfolded, John Lennon's creative trajectory became increasingly intertwined with that of Paul McCartney, their partnership yielding a string of innovative and enduring songs that would forever alter the landscape of popular music. The Quarrymen, now rechristened the Beatles, began to gain traction in Liverpool's thriving music scene, with John's acerbic wit and sharp observational skills contributing significantly to the band's emerging sound. The city's eclectic mix of dockworkers, artists, and musicians created a fertile ground for their unique blend of rock and roll, skiffle, and folk influences. On August 17, 1960, the Beatles embarked on their first tour of Hamburg, Germany, a stint that would prove pivotal in shaping their musical style and stage presence. As they performed at the Inger Club in the Kaiserkeller, they honed their craft, playing to rowdy crowds and developing a reputation for their energetic live performances. The experience was both exhilarating and grueling, with John's sharp wit and sarcasm often providing a necessary release valve for the tensions that arose during their time in Hamburg. During this period, John's relationship with his mother, Julia, continued to influence his life and work. Her tragic death on July 15, 1958, had left an indelible mark on John's psyche, and he often found solace in music as a means of expressing his emotions. This sentiment is palpable in songs like Julia, a hauntingly beautiful tribute that showcases John's growing mastery of lyrical introspection. As the Beatles' popularity grew, so did their exposure to new musical influences and experiences. On November 9, 1961, Brian Epstein, a local record store owner, attended one of the band's performances at the Cavern Club, an encounter that would ultimately lead to his becoming their manager. Under Epstein's guidance, the Beatles refined their image and stage presence, laying the groundwork for their future success. Epstein's influence extended beyond mere management. He helped shape the band's style, encouraging them to adopt a more polished and professional demeanor that would appeal to a broader audience. The release of Love Me Do on October 5, 1962, marked a significant milestone in the Beatles' career, as it became their first single to gain widespread attention. John's contribution to the song, particularly his harmonica riff, added a distinctive touch to the band's sound. This early success was followed by the release of Please Please Me on January 11, 1963, an album that showcased the band's burgeoning talent and cemented their position as a rising force in British popular music. John's relationship with Cynthia Powell, whom he married on August 23, 1962, also played a significant role during this period. Cynthia's presence provided a sense of stability and comfort for John, allowing him to focus on his creative pursuits. As the Beatles' fame grew, however, the pressures of touring and recording began to take a toll on their marriage. The constant scrutiny and attention that came with being a member of one of Britain's most popular bands created tensions in their relationship, as Cynthia struggled to maintain her own identity amidst the chaos of John's career. The year 1964 proved to be a watershed moment in the Beatles' career, with the release of A Hard Day's Night on July 10, an album that coincided with the premiere of their film of the same name. John's songwriting contributions to the album, including If I Fell and I'll Cry Instead, demonstrated his growing maturity as a composer. The band's appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show on February 9, 1964, marked a major breakthrough in the United States, introducing their music to a vast new audience. As they performed to a packed studio and an estimated 73 million viewers, John's irreverent charm and charisma shone brightly, capturing the hearts of American audiences and cementing the Beatles' status as global superstars. As the Beatles continued to push the boundaries of popular music, John's own creative vision began to take shape. His fascination with Bob Dylan's work, particularly the album The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, released on May 27, 1963, inspired him to explore more literary and poetic themes in his songwriting. This influence is evident in songs like In My Life, a nostalgic and introspective ballad that showcases John's growing mastery of lyrical storytelling. With the release of Rubber Soul on December 3, 1965, the Beatles entered a new era of creative experimentation, one that would yield some of their most innovative and enduring work. John's contributions to the album, including Norwegian Wood, This Bird Has Flown, and Girl, demonstrated his increasing confidence as a songwriter and his willingness to explore more complex themes and ideas. As the Beatles continued to evolve and grow, John Lennon's unique perspective and creative vision remained at the forefront of their music, leaving an indelible mark on the course of popular culture. The making of Rubber Soul was a pivotal moment in the Beatles' career, marking a significant shift away from their earlier pop-oriented sound towards more mature and experimental territory. John's songs, in particular, showcased his growing interest in Eastern philosophy and his increasing willingness to tackle complex social issues in his work. As the band pushed the boundaries of what was possible in popular music, they inspired a new generation of musicians and fans, cementing their status as one of the most influential and beloved bands in history. As the vibrant colors of the 1960s began to fade, John Lennon's life was a kaleidoscope of creative expression and personal turmoil. The album's iconic cover art, featuring the four band members walking across a zebra crossing outside EMI Studios in London, would become an enduring image of the era, symbolizing the end of an epoch and the dawn of a new age. However, beneath the surface of this creative flourishing, tensions within the band had been simmering for some time. The pressures of fame, the strain of constant touring, and the diverging artistic visions of the individual members had all taken their toll. The Beatles' eventual decision to go their separate ways was a painful but inevitable conclusion, marking the end of an extraordinary chapter in musical history. As John embarked on his solo career, he found himself unshackled from the constraints of the band's collective identity, free to explore new sounds, themes, and collaborations. Albums like Plastic Ono Band, 1970, and Imagine, 1971, were characterized by experimentation and innovation, with John pushing the boundaries of his music and delving into more overtly political territory. Songs like Give Peace a Chance and Power to the People reflected his deepening commitment to social justice and activism as he sought to harness the power of music as a force for change. John's personal life was also undergoing significant transformations during this period. His divorce from Cynthia in 1968 had marked the end of a chapter in his life, and his marriage to Yoko Ono in 1969 introduced a new era of creativity, love, and controversy. The couple's relationship was subjected to intense media scrutiny, with many blaming Yoko for the breakup of the Beatles. However, John and Yoko remained devoted to each other, their partnership inspiring some of John's most remarkable work. As the 1970s unfolded, John settled into a period of relative calm, focusing on his family and his music. He released several critically acclaimed albums, including Sometime in New York City, 1972, and Walls and Bridges, 1974, which showcased his continued growth as an artist and his willingness to experiment with new sounds and styles. However, he also faced challenges, including a deportation battle with the U.S. government, which threatened to upend his life and disrupt his creative flow. Despite these obstacles, John persevered, using his music as a source of solace, inspiration, and activism. His songs continue to reflect his commitment to peace, human rights, and social justice, earning him a reputation as a passionate and uncompromising advocate for the causes he believed in. In 1975, he took a break from music, devoting himself to raising his son Sean and recharging his creative batteries. In the late 1970s, John began to re-emerge as a creative force, releasing the album Double Fantasy in 1980. The album was a critical and commercial success, marking a triumphant return for John and introducing his music to a new generation of fans. Tragically, his life was cut short on December 8, 1980, when he was assassinated outside his New York City apartment building by a deranged fan. The news sent shockwaves around the world as fans mourned the loss of a brilliant musician, a passionate activist, and a true original. As a musician, he helped shape the course of popular music, inspiring countless artists and bands with his innovative spirit, his lyrical depth, and his unwavering commitment to his art. His music continues to be celebrated and enjoyed by fans around the world, with songs like Imagine and Strawberry Fields Forever remaining timeless classics that transcend generations and genres. That's all for today's Biography with Plutarch. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that understanding the lives of remarkable individuals helps us better understand ourselves.